During the late summer and into autumn, cruise ships take to the North Atlantic waters, sailing out of Boston and New York and heading for Quebec and Montreal. So on today's episode of Planet Cruise Weekly, we're exploring the golden autumnal glory of cruising New England and Canada. Well, hello and welcome to episode 84 of Planet Cruise Weekly. I'm Keith and today I'm joined by my old cruising chum, Glenn.
Hello, mate.
I love that word, chum.
Yeah, I like chum.
Kind of makes me think of kind of Biggles and kind of old school, you know.
Makes me think of dead fish.
Dead fish? Does it really? Makes me think of Werther's Original.
That's what chum.
Chum? Oh, of course, yeah, I suppose so. Yeah. Are you a bit of a fisherman then?
No, I just stink.
I was going to say, yeah. Today we're looking at one of the most underrated and undervisited parts of the cruising world, New England and Canada. And I was lucky enough to visit this area several times on both Queen Victoria, Queen Elizabeth and Queen Mary too.
Oh, did you work for Cunard?
Yeah.
I've never
told you that before.
Never mentioned.
Oh, yeah, I work for Cunard. When we break up the transatlantic season by going left out of New York, up the craggy New England coast and then down the stunning St. Lawrence River.
New England and Canada cruises offer sophisticated, eye-catching ports of call. Colonial history and rugged coastlines, craggy seaside villages and opulent mansions, whale watching and beautiful autumn foliage. Each Northern Atlantic port offers a glimpse into the past, as well as present-day natural beauty. Now you can learn about America's forefathers in Newport and Boston, where Bar Harbor and Portland are known for their stunning rocky shores, towering cliffs and lighthouses and crab shacks. Explore Canada's maritime provinces, including Nova Scotia, New Brunswick and Newfoundland, before finally immersing yourself in French Canada, with stops in Quebec cities and countryside.
But cruising Canada and New England is not just about what you can see or learn. The itineraries offer a plethora of opportunities to pedal, paddle, hike, maybe explore the national parks, go along the coastal roads and through colour-filled forests. There's speedboat rides in the Bay of Fundy, whale watching excursions and whitewater rafting, all available for you to enjoy. So the best time for Canada and New England cruises, Glenn? Well, funnily enough, the full Canada-New England cruise season runs from May through to October, with the greatest number of ships sailing in August and September as you get towards that wonderful autumnal season. May, June and October can be quite chilly in Canada, especially at night when the lows dip down to around the 40s and 50s in Halifax. July and August are the warmest months, with highs up to around the mid-70s, and then the upper 70s if you go down to French Canada and Montreal. Still, even in summer, the nights are cool and it's not unusual to find lows around the mid-50s.
Now the best time to see whales off the Atlantic coast of eastern Canada varies in location. June through early August is the best time to spot these magnificent creatures off the coast of Newfoundland and Labrador. And the best time to see whales in the Bay of Fundy is between July and September. Seals can also be spotted off the coast of Prince Edward Island during the summer months.
So nearly every major cruise line has at least one ship sailing in the kind of Canada and New England itinerary stakes. Some with autumn dates only and others with voyages throughout the whole season. Royal Caribbean, Princess, Holland America, Carnival, Cunard and NCL and Celebrity all have a good selection of sailings.
Now as always, if you decide to cruise with the luxury small ship lines like Seabourn and Silver Seas, you will get to visit less visited ports like Martha's Vineyard, Nantucket and other smaller ports not found on big ship itineraries.
Itineraries vary by length and route. A wide variety of ports of call is available, as well as embarkation for the home ports. Those in the US include Baltimore, Boston, New York City, and Cape Liberty in New Jersey. Canadian sailings primarily leave from Quebec and Montreal. Now many of these trips are a perfect opportunity to combine maybe a 2 to 3 night city stay, either pre or post cruise.
Now shorter sailings, including 7-night voyages, typically sail round trips from one of the above mentioned home ports. Royal Caribbean currently offers 7-night trips out of Boston, and Cunard a 5-day mini trip out of New York, which still managed to call into New Brunswick and gives you an overnight in Boston or of course New York.
Now for the longer sailings, many lines offer 10 to 14 night or even beyond that cruises. Princess and Cunard's extended itineraries often include overnights in Quebec City, and Celebrity are currently offering a great 17-night sailing which overnights in New York, while Holland America have some 16 and 18-night sailings which overnight in Boston.
Now Now that would be good, off to the Cheers bar. Let's take a look at one-way sailings. Now, while getting to and from arrival and departure points takes a little bit more planning, one-way sailings offer a great number and variety of ports and can be found on a 7-night and longer sailings. For example, Holland America and Norwegian both offer Boston to Quebec itineraries, Crystal sails between Montreal and Boston, and Princess has one-way sailings between New York and Quebec.
Now, you can also do UK round trips, and I find this really, really interesting with
We
this.
used to do Cruise Maritime.
Cruise Maritime, yeah, Cruise Maritime, and also Cunard. Did I ever tell you I work for Cunard? Yes, because you can actually combine this itinerary with transatlantic crossing on Cunard's Queen Mary 2. So you go from Southampton over to New York, and then you go into New England, down into French Canada before disembarking back in New York, or taking the ship all the way back to Southampton, which is perfect for people who don't like to fly and have a month or more to spare.
So we've looked at some of the ships that sail there. Now let's have a look at some of the highlights, and there are loads and loads of stuff to do when you get into the ports of call themselves. We're going to start off first of all with Boston, Massachusetts. Now this is a big city, but perfect to explore on foot. It's also America's most glamorous historic city, dating back more than 350 years. Now, the events that led to America's Revolution, including the infamous arguments over the tax on tea that led to the Boston Tea Party here in 1773, started in this city.
Now the locals are also part of Boston's charm. They really do come either in kind of like the more positive, friendly, or maybe the kind of grouchy. There were two main categories, and there are certain restaurants that specialise in surly waiting staff, such as Dick's Last Resort. And probably just saying surly waiting staff doesn't really give it a proper flavour, because they actually insult you. So they go around to making you wear a hat, you know, like the old dunce hats,
yeah.
And they write a name on it.
Yeah.
And then as they give out your food, they insult you, or basically just are really blatantly rude to you.
Now, for lovers of American history, follow the Freedom Trail, the red lines down the sidewalk. And if television history is more your style, you can visit the bar that was modelled for Cheers, as I mentioned before. Boston Common is absolutely lovely, especially on nice sunny days. And next door is the Boston Public Garden, where you find the city's famed swan boats operated by Paddle's Head, across the Charles River from here to Cambridge. Now finally, you can visit the Harvard University, which in addition to hallowed halls has several excellent museums, and hang with the college kids in Harvard Square.
Next up, Newport, Rhode Island. And in the 19th century, Newport was America's Versailles, and it was here that the great merchant princes and robber barons of the Gilded Age erected elaborate summer houses that they ingeniously dubbed cottages. And at the height of its splendour, a Newport season was a giddy whirl of grand fetes, yacht races, and elaborate beach picnics.
Today, touring these incredible mansions such as the Elms, Rosecliff and the Marble House is still the main highlights, and the grandest of all is the Breakers, Cornelius Vanderbilt II's Italian Renaissance style palazzo with lower loggia that features a mosaic of dolphins made from thousands of pieces of marble. Now, if grand designs is not your thing, then I recommend a stroll along Newport's famous Cliff Walk, a picturesque 3.5-mile path along rocky coastlines past windswept beaches, rocky coves, great backyard views of many of Newport's most famous mansions. They are beautiful.
Now, Bar Harbour in Maine, one of my favourite ports, and once the backyard of the Rockefellers, the Morgans and the Vanderbilts. Bar Harbour's main attraction is the 47,000-acre Arcadian National Park. It's a stunning mix of rocky shores, towering cliffs and forested mountains, including the East Coast's tallest peak called Cadillac Mountain. Now, President Woodrow Wilson established Arcadia as the first national park east of Mississippi, and it's one of the most visited of the US national parks. In town, you can relax on the village green, maybe sip one of the micro brews at a pub, or indulge in a lobster bake, which is plucked fresh from the coastal waters of Maine. Lobster really is the star here, and it's the undisputed king when it comes to dinner. And if you want the best of the lobster dinners, the locals all go for something called Down East, and that includes corn on the cob, potatoes and all the trimmings.
Halifax is Nova Scotia's capital and was famous for being the birthplace of Samuel Cunard and the original destination port for the first steam transatlantics from Liverpool itself.
Halifax is incredible. It's got a beautifully restored waterfront, full of amazing buildings and historical properties that recall the city's century-old maritime heritage.
Stroll the waterfront and you may find Nova Scotia's floating ambassador, the schooner Blue Nose 2. tied up to private wharfs, just as old sailing boats have done for over 200 years. Now, Halifax is also the gateway to Nova Scotia's stunning scenery, including famous Peggy Coves, where surf-pounded granite cliffs and a solitary lighthouse create an unsurpassed scene of rugged natural beauty. Other options include taking your little ones on a Theodore tugboat cruise or visit the Maritime Museum of the Atlantic, which has a vast collection of Titanic memorabilia, including the ship's only surviving deck chair, and still has a towel from one of its German clients.
Now, another fantastic highlight port on these itineraries is St John's in New Brunswick, and it's Canada's oldest settlement and the gateway to New Brunswick itself, which is one of Canada's most unspoilt provinces. 85% of the land is still unsettled, and it boasts vast forests, purling streams, gentle hills, rich farmlands, and a spectacular coastline dotted by little historic towns. Now, New Brunswick lies on the north shore of something called the Bay of Fundy, which is home to one of the most astonishing natural phenomena in the world, called the reversing river rapids. Actually the water flows back upstream, and basically this phenomenon causes 100 billion tonnes of swirling seawater into the St John's River. The best way to experience it is by jet boat, and you can actually go through the reversing falls rapids, or if you want a gentler trip, maybe take a kayak and lobster cookout excursion. So our final highlight for today is Quebec, and here you really get a taste of France, but of course on the other side of the Atlantic. You get to stroll along streets of the atmospheric Latin Quarter and explore the historic stone and brick houses of old Quebec. In fact, it's the only remaining walled city north of Mexico. You can visit places like the Place Royale, the Notre Dame de Victory, which is the oldest stone church in North America, and you can marvel at the turreted Chateau de Frontenac. Or you can head out of the city to the Montmorency Falls, which are at 275 feet actually higher than that. So finally, let's have a look now at Keith and Glenn's Canada and New England cruise tips. First one is humpbacks arrive in the North Atlantic in the early summer, and they swim in the region and through the region throughout October. So cruising on one of the last autumnal sailings, and you're probably likely to risk missing the gorgeous creatures.
You are. Now, if you want to see the foliage in full fettle, then be sure not to book a cruise too late in the season. Winter comes early in North Atlantic, so you may want to arrive in your hometown, so check the annual temperatures before choosing a sailing.
Now, if you're travelling with kids, do note the minimum ages on trips like biking, the kayaking and other shore tours, and pick a line that offers tours that fit the needs of your family. Also, consider doing a tour on your own, because unlike some Caribbean ports, there are oodles of kid-friendly attractions within safe and easy walking distance of the ports in, say, Boston, Halifax and St John. So consider booking things like the Pink Bus Tours or the Theodore Tugboat in Canada, or maybe taking a cab to one of Boston's many kid-friendly museums.
The North Atlantic region has a cornucopia of delicious shellfish associated, that's easy to say with my teeth, with its coastline. New York and Massachusetts are known for oysters and clams, Maine is known for lobster, and Nova Scotia is known for mussels. Interestingly, ancient Native American Indians legends say that shellfish are best in the months that end with an R, including September and October.
Most people don't realise that New England and Eastern Canada is actually a wine producing region with vineyards in Massachusetts, Maine, Quebec and Nova Scotia. You can make a day trip out of visiting local wineries, and indeed some sailings actually highlight wine touring in their itineraries. Now, when in Quebec, whatever you do, make sure you try the ice wine. Now, pub lovers, take note, there are more bars and pubs per capita in the city of Halifax than in any other city in North America, and as a result, pub crawling excursions are one of the most popular type of excursions on certain cruise ship guides.
It's a bit different there than it is in Magaluf.
Slightly different, yeah. Okay, now fjords also aren't limited to Norway and Chile. North America does have them too. And if you pick an itinerary that includes a day of cruising the Saguenay, then you can see the famous fjord there, which is located in the heart province of Quebec. And it's fed by both the Atlantic Ocean and the St. Lawrence Seaway. Well, I hope that's given you a bit more of an idea anyway. It's a fantastic part of the world. If you want more information, you can click the link there. It will take you straight through to the website to speak to knowledgeable people like Glenn. Now, if people do want to get in contact with us, Glenn, how do they do that?
The same way as we always do. You can contact us on Facebook, on Twitter. Make sure you go onto our YouTube channel, subscribe. It's free to do that, and watch all the other episodes. And again, if you're looking at doing a Canada cruise or you're not sure about it, go onto the website, contact the team, and we'll give you more information. If you don't fancy Canada or North America and you want to go somewhere a little bit warmer, then give us a shout, and we've got 17,000 cruises on board our website.
Again, thanks for your comments over the last week. A big thank you especially to Janet Pyatt, who said in response to our Jewel of the Seas Mediterranean deal, I went on Jewel last year, Rome to the Caribbean, beautiful ship, had just had a refit and a wonderful crew from a lady captain downwards. We do like a lady captain, don't we?
We do, yeah.
We do. And also a big thank you to Caroline Williams, who commented on our Scandinavian deal. She said, done the cruise in Norway, hate ABBA, but love the Vasa Museum, going to Iceland and Scotland on a cruise next year. We agree with you, Caroline. On that wonderful note, before we sink any lower,
Boom, boom.
boom, boom. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.